Right, continuing our little series of Finn Harps historical features. I'm talking here tonight with Alan Doherty, who is originally from Ardee in County Louth, who joined Harps for the first time 1994 while on loan from Dundalk FC. He loved Donegal that much that he decided he would stay and ended up spending another 2 seasons with us. Alan, it's great to have you on, and great to be talking to you again.
Great to be talking to you again, is right, Bart. It's been a few years, and every time Finn Harps is mentioned, it always brings a smile to my face, to be quite honest. I had a wonderful, wonderful time up there.
Oh, I think it's reciprocal, to be honest with you. I think you took to it with gusto as well. You're very fondly remembered in Donegal, so I think it's a mutual feeling there, Alan.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be quite honest, I'll have to say it was definitely the best 3 seasons that I've ever played in the League of Ireland. Maybe not so much the last season, because I didn't get a lot of game time through bits and pieces of maybe what was going on in the background and so on and so forth. But without a shadow of doubt, I absolutely loved my time up there. Wonderful, wonderful club and people to go with it.
How did the move come about in the first place? Like, as I said, you came on loan from Dundalk, who I think you'd played in the FAI Cup final for them, and they were doing quite well at the time. How did the actual first kind of inkling for you that Harps were interested in?
Yeah, it was I played in the cup final in '93 with Dundalk. Shells beat us 1-0 in the cup final. And the following season, I got a call out of the blue. There was a guy called he was from Loud Village, Patsy. Oh, his name's gone for me now. And he was originally from Donegal, and he was a super Harps fan. Patsy Delaney was his name, and he called over to the house one day. I didn't even know who the man was, to be quite honest. And he ended up getting me number and giving it to Patsy McGowan, because seemingly Patsy had seen me play for Dundalk and was wondering would I be interested in heading up to play with Harps. I think at the time I was kind of in and out of the Dundalk team. I would have been in my early 20s and at the time. So I started off with the youth of Dundalk and kind of made my way through. So I was in and out of the team, and so Patsy McGowan rung me, and Patsy, he kind of sold it to me in a way that I thought, well, I'm not really getting first team football here. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go till the end of the season and see what happens. Well, at the end of the season, it was for a full season, more or less, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. From the minute I went up, because when my first day going up, I went into Patsy's house across the road from the ground, and I was sit down, had a cup of tea, had a bit of a chat and a crack, and then I couldn't believe how. Well, first of all, I couldn't believe how friendly the manager was, because I would have been used to dealing with not being in the background with managers, but Torlock O'Connor was the manager in the Dundalk when I was growing up and when I started playing, and Torlock was suited and booted all the time, and I was nearly afraid of Torlock sometimes. It was like I didn't know what way to take it, because I was only a young lad coming into the team as well, and then but meeting Patsy, he just made me feel so at ease, and as if I was just having a crack with one of my mates, and come on, we're going to play football, and he put it to me where, because Harps were after getting beaten the playoffs the year previous by Cove. Correct. I think it was.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of heartache at the time there, and then when he was talking about the Cove game, and he was putting it to me that he was maybe lacking goals here and there and so on and so forth. He just showed me an absolute great picture, and I thought, Jesus, we'll give this a whirl, because this sounds great. And then it turned out that he wasn't wrong.
Well, that's true, and you certainly repaid him with a few goals in your first season. Have you any idea how many goals you scored in your first season for him?
Not particularly. Maybe about 9, was it?
Nope.
8?
27 league appearances and 13 goals, so
Was it
almost 1 in
goals?
2. 1 every second game.
I played all over. I mostly played on the right foot when I was growing up, and then Tommy Conley was a coach there at the time, and Tommy took me on a when we were kind of young and growing up in youth, and he brought me into centre forward position. But he always told me not to work as hard because I was wasting a lot of energy. But I couldn't, but not. And maybe that was the Gaelic man in me. I don't know, because it wasn't that you had to just stand still all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mentioning the Gaelic, I mean, were you still playing Gaelic at that stage that you were with Harps? Because I know you made the Louth senior team at one stage, and certainly, you know, you would have played with St Mary's, your hometown club, and won a number of Louth championships with them as well.
Yeah, I was still involved with it. I was still on the county panel. In fact, I hadn't long made the county panel in the early 90s, so there would have been some Sundays Saturday nights where I was playing with Harps, and then the following Sunday playing with Louth in the National League. And there was one particular match, actually, I remember. We played down in Strokestown. We played Longford. We beat Longford 2-0 that night.
Mm-hmm.
And the county board then had a taxi waiting for me to go from Strokestown over to Mayo, because the team we were playing Mayo the following day in the National League, and we beat Mayo by 3 or 4 points the following day. And it was only when you read a few reports in the paper then of a Monday, you think, there's actually not too many players that are doing this kind of thing. You know what I mean? Well, and you know what? I kind of regret some of it as well, because I sometimes I wondered if I had just picked one or the other, would I have benefited more, you know, doing that?
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, then I know that I would have lost out on so many memories with both codes, you know.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's it. You got to experience so much more by playing both codes. And I know, like, from talking to other people who kind of made that decision between Gaelic or soccer, that, you know, it was tough for them to give up whichever code they gave up. And like, you know, in fairness to yourself, like, you were playing National League football for Louth at the time, and obviously in the Leinster Championship. And then as well as that, you were playing at the highest level of, you know, Irish football that you could possible too.
Yeah, it was great. And to be fair, it obviously wouldn't happen now, but both, you know, both Harps and Louth the Louth management and the Harp management were really, really fantastic in knowing that this is the kind of a fella that I am, that this is what I do, that I play both codes. I'm quite lucky enough that I kept reasonably injury free, and was able to do it for a long enough period of time to be quite successful, let's say. And you know, it was brilliant that the likes of, you know, that particular night I'm talking about, when we went to Mayo after when we beat Longford. You know, Louth had a physio ready for me, and they had a masseuse ready for me to go and get before I went to bed. And then the following morning, they were doing things that not every other player was getting, that kind of treatment. You know what I mean? But that was brilliant, because, well, I was obviously part of the team, part of the squad, and was made feel that no matter what you do, we're going to look after you. You know.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, that's fantastic. And at the time then, were you training with GAA, or were you training with a soccer team, or, you know, like, you obviously weren't traveling up and down to Donegal for training?
Yeah, it was my fitness levels were never a problem, and it was never in doubt. My fitness levels, obviously, because of what I was doing training wise. So I was training with the county team of at the time, I think we might have been training twice, 3 times a week, maybe, or something like that. And then of another night a week, I used to get one of my mates, and we had a little bit of one-touch football on the ground, because I didn't need to go and do 5K runs and have me sharpness up to speed, because physically I was in good condition, but I always felt a little bit shy of, I need to improve on my touch and so on and so forth. So I used to get one of my mates one night a week, and we used to go out like kids playing football on the school green. And again, you know, I was in my early 20s, and it was like, you were nearly, if anyone drove past it, because my home house was across the road from the secondary school, and they had masses of land there, and they always had we used to go and play like a one touch off a wall, as you would as a kid. But it was brilliant, because that's how I just kept me touch going. And then the following night, you might be doing, you know, 5-mile runs with the Gaelic team, or it was a slogging affair back in the day with county teams, you know. It wasn't until the likes of maybe Jimmy McGuinness came in and you know, improved. Improved. It wasn't just a matter of it running around the field. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good.
Yeah. No, so then you only travelled to Balbafay for games then, in effect.
Yeah. I used to just travel up of a Saturday morning, and we used to do, like, Patsy or whoever was over the team, we would do like set pieces and so on for a couple of hours in the afternoon, and then we would go and get something to eat, and then go back to Finn Park and play the match.
And who were your regular travelling companions? Were you travelling up on your own at first? I think Pierce Welch and Ronnie Murphy joined later that season. Oh, Jacko Smith would have been there at the time.
Jacko, yeah. So I had a couple. We had, well, first of all, I as I said, Patsy. I'm after forgetting the second name again. Sorry,
Delaney.
Patsy from Delaney. Yes, my apologies. Yeah, Patsy. He brought me up the first couple of games, and I felt as if I was putting them out a little bit, and then me brother and my dad, I travelled up a couple of times with them because they were quite interested as well. And then I ended up going with Jacko and Derek Wilkinson.
Ah, yes.
Because Derek used to travel from Bray, and we used to have great crack in the car. And then I ended up, me for about two and a half years, there was myself, Pierce, Ronnie, and Lord of Mercy and Donald Costigan.
Oh, Donald, yes, of course.
Donald, well, we had a blast coming up in the car. It was the funniest 2.5 hours that you would ever witness going up in that car, because Donald was brilliant crack. He was so dry-witted, and you could wind them up something terrible. And of course, he was with two of the best wind-up merchants in Ronnie and Pierce.
Goodness, of course.
So so
it's a wonder you were able to keep Pierce still for the 2.5 hours.
Well, it's a good job he was driving. It was a good job he was driving back, and that's the truth, because he was terrible, you know. And you know what? When we'd be going home, so of a Sunday, we'd get up handy and have the breakfast, because we used to stay all the time in the club. Between the club and Tommy Gallen, we used to stay in the B&B around the corner from Jackson's he had at the time, the Villa Rose, Rose Villa.
Yeah, it's a hotel now. Tommy's
the hotel.
It's a hotel now.
Yeah. So, but when we would be heading home, we would normally be coming into Ardee around about 11 o'clock in the morning, and I used to dread, because Pierce used to leave me home to the house, and I used to dread home to my mother and father's house. But I used to dread that it would be the people would be coming out of mass, because he'd be putting down the window going, "Excuse me, do you know where Alan Doherty lives?" And I'd be hiding in the back of the car going, "Pierce, will you stop?" And then, God forbid anyone stopped, because Ardee would be quite a friendly place. It'd be a bit like Ballybuffet. Everybody would kind of know each other, you know.
Yeah.
And he would say, "Yeah, do you know where Alan Doherty lives?" And he'd be heading on the road over to my mother and father's, do you see? And he'd someone would go, "Oh yeah, it's up there, number 5. Is that the footballer? Is that the guy that plays football?" And then someone would answer and go, "Oh, you just shut your sudden mouth, carry on with you." So he'd drive on, and then my neighbours would be looking, going, "Who the bloody hell was that?" And then I'd have to get out of the car and explain what was going on, you know. But it was great crack. It was great crack.
Good stuff. And we're just going to switch to one of the games during your first season. You probably remember quite well yourself. Played Kilkenny City down in Kilkenny, and we came away with what is the largest ever win by a Harps side when we won by 8-1. And one Alan Doherty scored a hat-trick that day.
That's right, yeah. Oh, it's I didn't realise it was the
biggest,
biggest Finn Harps ever recorded.
It's the biggest win the club had ever scored.
Right, yeah. It's Kilkenny at the time were there would have always been underdogs going into all them games, to be fair. So it wasn't always a 3 points guaranteed, because I mean no games ever were in that division.
Yeah.
But I think during that season it came to a time when we played Kilkenny that we were on a good run at the time. I think we had a few games unbeaten. Things started clicking into place with some new players and so on and so forth. And there was a great team bond as well. I'll always remember travelling on the bus. The team bond was fantastic. And put all that together with, at the time, we had a really decent side. Yeah. We had a really decent side in my first year there, and yeah, I was just lucky enough to be getting on the end of some goals. But I think it could have felt. I think it could have felt, some of them goals could have felt to any of us. And you know what? 8-1, we could have won a lot more. I remember that game. We could have easily been double figures without a doubt.
That's a pity you didn't. As our worst defeat, as you may well know, was against Derby County, and they did get double figures.
That's right, yes.
We're not going to mention that, though.
No, say no more.
And at the tail end of that season, we once again got to the playoffs. And would it be fair to say huge disappointment?
Massive, absolutely massive disappointment. I was gutted. We should have scored in Finn Park. We had a couple of chances. I know there was a couple cleared off the line, and then if we had scored up in Donegal and we were going down to Mel's, I think we would have won quite comfortably.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had quite a strong physical side at the time, and then again, I'll always remember we had one cleared off the line because I broke my teeth. I broke my front teeth playing in that playoff.
Right.
Because John Jared had a shot, and it ricocheted off a defender, and it hopped up in the line, and I went in for a header, and a fella come up with his boot to clear, and he just caught me straight on the teeth.
Right.
And I smashed my front teeth. And again, we had a couple of chances. Then, of course, we went to penalties, and there's going to be a lottery in penalties, you know.
Yeah.
And poor Shawnee Barrett, I felt so sorry for him. He was wounded that night. He really was.
No, it's not surprising. Like it was a huge disappointment for everybody around the club. And I mean, I don't think, as you say, Sean Barrett hadn't done that much wrong. It was just
no, he
was the unfortunate man that missed the penalty. I mean, we had a similar experience later on when Tom Mohan, who you may well know, missed a penalty similarly in a playoff match like that. And like, you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. You know, it's just a horrible experience. Would that have been a factor, that sort of disappointment and everything, in you signing the next season?
Without a doubt. Mickey O'Connor, he was the manager at Loan at the time, and he scored the winning penalty. And he rung me up a couple of weeks later and wanted me to sign for at Loan. And in my head, I had already thought to myself that I would love to go back up to Donegal. I had a great season. Personally, myself, I had a great season.
Yeah.
Things were falling into place I knew the team was definitely going to be going places because of the players we had. I had a chat with Patsy. He was giving me some heads up of some of the players that he was going to try and get in, and I was thinking, there's no way that I don't want to give this another bash. And also, I think I felt a wee bit not responsible. Well, yeah, probably responsible that I, as a person, and we as a team owed the club and the supporters a little bit, because that was 2 years in the trot that beating in the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have easily went south, you know what I mean? It could have easily been knocked in the head, and I just thought that I felt as if that we owed them something. So I gladly said no to Michael O'Connor over a period of a couple of weeks, because he was hounding me on the phone. And then obviously returned then to the start of the season again with Harps.
Right. And then things were going quite well for you up to December of that year, when you got an 8-match ban.
Yes.
And I think that took the steam out of your season a little bit.
Oof, in a massive way. And not only that, it kind of, I think it knocked Patsy for 6 as well, Patsy McGowan, because, well, for one, it was a bit of cheating. I don't mind saying it was a bit of cheating on the guy from Home Farms part, because there was a bit of a collision and we both got up and we both put our heads together. And he was the one that fell backwards. Because I actually thought to myself, what's wrong with him there? And I was kind of looking at him thinking, are you all right there? The next thing, the referee came over and sent me off the headbutton. And I thought, you're having a laugh here, aren't you? And then after the game, did we get beat? Or did we draw 1-1? Did we get beat 1-0?
We got beaten 1-0.
We got beat 1-0, yeah.
Paul Hegsey got sent off after the final.
That's right, Hegsey, yeah. And then Hegsey got sent off, and then Patsy had to go with the referee in the dressing room. He was going into the room to
Patsy took the door off the referee's dressing room.
I didn't want to say that, but yeah, Patsy took the hinges off the door.
That's right.
And it was like, it just blew up terribly. And then, as a result, I get an 8-match ban, and I thought, what the... I literally couldn't believe it. I could not believe this. Where did this come from? Is right, yeah. And it put a stop on it, obviously, for the 8 games. And then I thought, well, there's no way I'm not going up to support the team, for one, because this now meant more than just a game of football.
Sure.
And as the couple of years have progressed, it meant more than just going for a game of ball. And I was lucky enough to be playing in the League of Ireland and so on. I was playing for a club that I absolutely loved at this stage, and it absolutely wounded me. It wounded me.
And by the time you got back in, it was a very different setup, because Patsy had got sacked. Charlie McGeever had come in as the caretaker manager, and Dermot Keeley was on his way as the new manager. I don't know, did you play under Charlie as a caretaker, or had Dermot come in?
Yeah, I played with Charlie for, do you know what? It could have been going back down to Kilkenny, actually, when I made my return. Because there was a cup match in the midweek, and then we ended up going down. I think it could have been Kilkenny. And the rumour was going around that Dermot was coming in. Now, Dermot would have been one of the reasons why I wasn't getting a game with Dundalk, because I know that I had known Dermot for a few years, obviously been around Dundalk, and I done a course up in Leixlip when I was in the late teens. It was through the FAI.
Oh, that was the FOSS scheme, wasn't it?
The FOSS scheme, yeah.
They brought a few players from...
That's right. Declan Boyle and a young lad called Francis O'Donnell. They came from Harps.
Right.
I think Francis was from... I think he was from Buncrana or something like that. I could be wrong, but I'm sure he was up that neck of the woods. But anyway, yeah, so Dermot he had come and he was going to be getting involved with Dundalk, and he was offering me to go to America on a scholarship to Boston.
Right.
And I didn't fancy it, being quite honest. But I had a little think to myself, why does he want me to go? Why does he not want me to play with the club? You know what I mean? So I got a bit of a bad feeling. And then when he took over Dundalk and I went to loan with Harps, I thought, well, here's a manager that doesn't fancy me at all. And then I found that he was coming to Harps. And then I thought to myself, oh, here we go again. Oh, my days are numbered here. Yeah, my days are numbered. But it turned out it was quite difficult times. It was quite difficult because two of the lads, Higgsy and Shawnee Bart, they had left because of what was going on with Patsy and so on and so forth. And I was in between going, I don't want it. I want to still play football. I want to still play for the club, because the club, no matter what, is going to be far bigger than me or Paul Haggerty or Patsy McGowan. Now, me, Paul Haggerty, Patsy McGowan, whoever it was, give our life. Well, Patsy did, of course. Yeah. Give what we could for that particular amount of time we were with the club. But we were just part of the jigsaw. You know what I mean? The club itself is the be and end all. So, yeah. Anyway, I decided, because I'd been talking to Higgsy and Patsy, of course, and I explained to them that I still want to play, and they understood my decision, you know.
And at the end of the season, your decision was vindicated when you played against Waterford in the match that saw us gain promotion. I think you might have scored that night as well.
I did indeed, yeah. Mo Tolan got 2, and I got the one in between. Yeah, it was what a night! What a night! What a feeling it was going into the dressing room after the game, and it was. I could feel in people's joy that it was relief as well. People that had been around the club for so many years and had so much heartache, and of course the 2 years previous getting beaten in playoffs, and it just, I think it made it that little bit sweeter. I think it made it that little bit of a feeling of relief, nearly. Yes, we finally got there as a club. We finally reached the pinnacle of Irish football, which is only a start for the club. But, you know, from the 70s to a cup final, and, you know, from the build up of what they had to go through different leagues and so on to get, finally it was there. And yes, exactly. Yeah, that's how I felt. That's how I felt for everyone.
And it was a very enjoyable night, I presume. A few shambles.
It certainly was. We went over to Gallons across the road, as we normally do, and then we ended up, I think, in Jackson's, and then ended up back in Tommy Trout's. We went back to the hotel, and Marty Ginley could fill in a few blanks for me the following morning, and it was brilliant. It was a great night celebrating, but it was even better the following day when you meet people, and it was like, how good was that? How good was that night? Not just the celebrations, of course, but how good was the whole day, or the build up to the match, getting the results, and kicking on from there. You know, I mean, I went home that Sunday, arrived back in Ardee at about 2:30 or something like that in the afternoon, dropped my stuff into the house, got in, had a shower, and I thought, I'm going to go for a couple of pints now and celebrate myself with my mates. Spent about 2 or 3 hours in Ardee. My mate says, what are we up to tonight? I said, do you fancy going back up to Donegal? Jumped on McGinley's bus. It was heading through town at about, I don't know, 6 o'clock or something like that. Got off in Strabane, was talking to a few lads that were going to Ballywoffair, and I was back in Ballywoffair that night about 8 o'clock. I couldn't stay away, Bart.
I would say anybody who saw you and knew you had gone back down to Ardee was given 2 looks. That looks like Alan Doherty over there. No, it couldn't be.
Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic.
Boot back into Tommy's B&B, and then ended up in Letterkenny with Brendan and Jonathan Minnock, and there was a few of us, and then
few of the Letterkenny boys.
It was great. It was great.
Excellent. And you took the decision then to stay on, despite all the kind of the shenanigans that went on over that summer with the takeover and Dermot walking out, and then Charlie kind of having to put together a side, not really last minute, but you know, we were in the middle of pre-season and nobody knew what was really going on. And you obviously decided to stay on, but I think at that stage, Johnny Speak was now your partner up front, and Charlie, I think, decided to go with Davy Dowling more. And then later on in the season, we signed Jamesy Mulligan for a big fee, which again kind of knocked you a little bit more down the pecking order.
Yeah, that's basically the process of what happened. I, being quite honest, I didn't have any plans to go back up, because as I mentioned there previous, with Dermot over the team, I knew he didn't fancy me anyway. So I just thought, well, what's the point? Because I've had a wonderful 2 seasons here at Harps. There's no point in making that a wee bit sour now, because I don't want to feel, I want to continue feeling for the club as I had been at that stage, you know.
Yeah.
So I hadn't signed for anybody, and it was, I think it was about it was around July time or something like that, or could have been August. Well, I forget, even when the season used to start, Bart. The season used to
it would have been the end. I think it would have been the end of August. We would have started playing matches.
The end of August. So we were playing a local Division 1 league game, Gaelic football, and we were playing our local rivals, Staban and Parnell's at Staban. And about 3/4 way through the second half, I thought to myself, I'm sure that's Charlie McKeever on the sideline, and he was there with Gallant.
Pat Gallant, was it?
He was there with Pat.
Yeah.
Aye. So I thought to myself, Jesus Christ, what are they? And I thought to myself, what are they doing here? Knowing right well what they were there for. And I think that was like a Saturday evening or Sunday evening. And I had a chat with Charlie. He had explained to me what went on with Dermot gone and so on and so forth. And he asked, would I be interested in coming up for another season?
Yeah.
So I jumped at the chance. Of course I jumped at the chance. Another year up with Finn Harps. Happy days, this is great. So we played Fannet on the Wednesday night in the League Cup.
Yeah.
And then we were due to start the first league game. I think it was the following week or the week after that, something like that. That was the kind of timeline. And I had seen all the players that had signed for Harps at the time. We had signed, as you mentioned, Davy Dowling, which is quite funny because he would have been who I would have been if I had signed for Athlone. He would have who I would have been playing with.
Yeah.
So and Athlone was after getting relegated because Home Farm, I think, beat them the same year.
That's
we
right,
we got promotion.
Yeah, I think that was the playoff, wasn't it? Yeah.
That was the playoff. Yeah. So there was himself and Conor Frawley from Athlone who came up, and I think we had signed another keeper, David.
Oh, David Platt from Coleraine.
David Platt from Coleraine, yeah. And of course, all the other heads were still there, like Speaky, and I thought, this has actually got the makings of a great team, because with the team four was one Saturday afternoon. We'd signed a couple of guys from Derry as well.
That's right. Marty McCann came in. Quiggy was already there.
Well, Quiggy was already there, but
Yeah.
Marty came in, and Gary Heaney, that was the other chap, yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought, wow, this is quite a good squad. And then I started thinking, you got a bit of a fight in your hands here, which is good. You got a bit of a fight in your hands to get playing. And then, as you mentioned, then James Mulligan signed. Then I thought, I've got no chance here because, well, one, we always used to be having the crack with him about his signing on fee, and he, the wages that he probably was on. It's because he was after having a world league the season with Cork. previous year. And to be fair, I suppose there was a bit of pressure on having to play such a player that was getting a lot of money at the time.
Well, he also came in for quite a big transfer fee as well.
That's what I mean. So
yeah.
so he was always going to be in the pecking order, whether he was having a great season or not. And then obviously when you're not playing, and I played a few games with the reserves, then I stayed on of a Sunday and played a few of the games reserves, but it wasn't what it was previous the following year.
Yeah.
And I kind of struggled a little bit. I kind of struggled with not playing. It just wasn't. It wasn't sitting right with me. Although I was making the bench and coming on in a few games, it wasn't as enjoyable as it probably could have been. You know?
Well, I think you said that, you know, when you first signed for Harps, you signed because you wanted to play football. Like, you could have stayed at Dundalk and, you know, not, you know, sort of coming off the bench or whatever like that, but you wanted to prove yourself. So I don't think anybody could blame you for wanting to play.
No, I wanted to play football. And you know, the funny part about it was, I mean, I signed for Harps and we won promotion 2 years later. I mean, I could have stayed on the bench with Dundalk and won a league, because Dundalk won the league in '95, the same year as we got promoted. So, but it's not about that. For me, it was about, I want to play ball. I want to play football. I want to play it at the highest end that I possibly can. And if other people's opinions change on where I should be playing, i.e., if you should be playing with this club or that club, or if a manager doesn't fancy you, that's just opinions. That's how I would feel about it.
Yeah.
And it saddened me. It saddened me to leave the club. It really did, because as I said, it's the best ever. Best ever.
Excellent. Okay, what was your most memorable match in a Finn Harps jersey?
It would be really easy to say the Waterford game, because of what was at stake. And the Kilkenny game obviously comes into mind, because it was the first time I scored a senior hat-trick.
Yeah.
But believe it or believe it not, one of my favourite games, I probably only played about 20 minutes of that game. It was against St James's Gate, and it was about 2 weeks before we played Waterford in the playoff. So these were games that we had to win.
Yeah.
And we had a stinker against Cove the week before, or the week before that.
I remember that. Yeah.
We had an absolute stinker. Yeah. And Dermot dropped me. Dermot Keeley was over the team at the time, and he brought me to the bench. And I come on as a sub against St James's Gate with a massive chip on my shoulder to go, I'm going to prove you wrong here. And I think it was probably, I felt as if it was probably the best 20 or 25 minutes I ever played in a Harps jersey, because I didn't stop running. I was harrying. I ended up scoring a cracker of a goal. And I literally went off the field that night feeling 10 foot high and wanting to stick my fingers up at people. And
it's just as well you mightn't have played against Waterford.
No, exactly, yeah. But I felt as if it was the best 20 minutes of football that I played with Harps, and yet I played for 2 seasons, you know.
Yeah.
But that it always sticks in your head. That always sticks in your head.
Excellent. You played with some really, really good players when you were at Harps. I mean, I was obviously doing the research, you know, today for the call tonight. And I was kind of going, bloody hell, I didn't realize you played with him. And oh, yeah, there's him as well. Who was the best player you played with?
For a couple of different reasons. I mean, different positions and so on. I mean, the keeper, John Walsh, was a superb keeper. Jacko, if Jacko ever hears this, he'll give me what's what. But yeah,
he will. I'll send it on to him.
Yeah, well, I'm still very friendly with Jacko, so yeah. I'll have to have him know. Yeah, John Walsh for a keeper, he'd be brilliant. Speaky is. I learned so much off Johnny Speak. Obviously, he would have been. I wouldn't have known Speaky as a fella, but I would have known him as a footballer, because who didn't in the League of Ireland? Do you know what I mean? So his strength and his cuteness was just. I learned an awful lot off him. I learned an awful lot off Johnny. And then midfield, I think it was a toss-up between Walshy and Pearce and Hegsy for the battle. They just loved a battle, loved the battle. And then,
just to cut across you, I have to tell the Pearce story because I love this one. You were probably playing or on the bench, I don't know which, in the last season you were there when he got sent off against Shelburne. He started fighting with McNeville in the pitch. And if you remember, the dressing rooms at the time in Talca Park were way down behind the goals on the Ballybuck end.
Yeah.
And while she's walking off, and for some reason the referee allowed the free kick to be taken. And the next thing, he's up heading the ball out from the defence, and the referee's blowing the whistle. He's going mad, and he's running over, and he's going, get off, get off, get off. But that's my favourite Pearce Walsh story.
Yeah, no, yeah, he was. I love Walshy. I mean, again, we're still really good friends. But getting back to,
sorry,
I would have to say Johnny Speak, but I just want to put a wee mention in for me old mate Noel Melvin and all of that, you know, because it's he was just such a gentleman as well, you know what I mean? He was great for the club, and I understand, Alan. I mean, they're great people.
Any of us that got the news that day that Noel had passed away, and I mean, he was such a fit man. He was running marathons and coaching kids, and like none of us could understand it. And like you say, like he was such a inoffensive person. Like he was a quietly spoken, and he wouldn't push himself to the fore, but he was as a footballer, he was a force of nature at times.
There's no doubt. And I was lucky when the last time I was home back that I drove up to Monaghan to his grave, and it was just, when you're living away, you can't get home for stuff like that, and the news just it broke a lot of people, and we would have just been a number of people that Noel shone the light on us. You know what I mean? And he was a great man to be around, and he'd be sorely missed. He will
indeed. It's just one of those things. I think that's about it. Well, unless you want to tell me who the best manager was while your time at Harps, I presume Dermot Keely's not going to go to the top of the list anyway.
He'll be. If there was that below the bottom, he'd be there. No, it's definitely Patsy. Patsy gave me the chance which I didn't realize at the time, that was going to change my life a little bit, and I was going to end up with lifetime friends out of me few years up in Donegal. It's 25 years now, Bart. You know what I mean? It's 25 years since we got promotion, which is crazy to think. But yet, I will still be in contact with a lot of people from the team, and maybe even a lot more that were either supporters or involved with the club.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd still be in a little bit of contact with John Walsh, whose son now Joel, I think he signed his first contract this year with the senior team. Joel Walsh, did he?
Yeah, Joel Walsh, yeah.
And a lot of this will be through social media and messaging and whatnot. I was at a match over here. I'd be a season ticket at Goodison here.
Yeah.
And a couple of years back, I could hear this chap on the right-hand side, and I thought, sounds like a Donegal accent. And at half time, I got to move up. It was about 4 or 5 seats to me right. And that was another chap from Ballybuffet. And I just thought, it's such a small world, and being in contact with him. And then, it's someone texted me the other night to see could I get a program of the City game, because the barber from Donegal or from Ballybuffet was in the program because he was an Evertonian.
Farah, Sean.
Aye,
Farah,
Sean, yeah. So it ended up not just being football, Bart. It ended up not just being football. It ended up being a brilliant thing in my life, and it's something that I'll be forever grateful for. Really will.
And no doubt we'll be forever grateful that you were there to score a few goals for us too. You know, Alan.
Well,
as I said to you at the start of it, it's very much reciprocated the way you felt about in Donegal that we, you know, took to you as well. But I think that's maybe the measure of you coming in and giving yourself wholeheartedly to Finn Harps.
Yeah, it's, as I said, it was an absolute privilege to be able to play for what would I call one of the biggest clubs in the League of Ireland, because you know, because they are, and the potential of getting even bigger. Please God, down through the years with a new stadium maybe, and you know, I have turned into a Harps supporter. And that's the
That's
God's honest
fantastic.
truth.
That's fantastic.
So, but that is the truth. I mean, obviously, it's great now that we can get stuff online and look at matches online. But a couple of years back in the playoffs, when young Banda scored, I was dancing around my living room. But this was only through Twitter, because the results were only coming through Twitter.
Sure.
And my wife was going, I take it they've scored. I was, get in, you little beauty. I was like, it was wild in our house here. And it was like, not a lot of people would know that, you know.
Yeah, no, and that's brilliant. Listen, Alan, just want to say thank you very much for coming on. As always, I've enjoyed your company. You're always good crack, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
It's been an honor. It's been an honor and a privilege. Thanks, Bart.
Cheers. Thanks, Alan.
Up the Harps.